Static crackles through the darkness, somewhere between frequencies, between worlds. You've founded the channel that shouldn't exist. The air grows cold. My voice cuts through the white noise like a razor. This is Damien Tao, and tonight, I have two tales that will make you question every door you've ever opened. I am Damien Tao. Our first story unfolds in Beijing. A young man named Chen Li, strong as an ox when this began, would become something else entirely. Something paper thin. Something that shouldn't be alive. Fresh out of university, Chen Li landed a government job. The salary was laughable. The benefits were decent, but you can't eat benefits. Chen Li was broke, desperately, dangerously broke. He couldn't afford anything resembling a proper apartment, so he searched for the cheapest option he could find. That is when the real estate agent showed him a listing near Panjiayan, a 1970s building, 4th floor, no elevator. The price was impossibly low, the kind of low that should make you run, but Chen Li wasn't running. He was listening. The agent leaned in, voice dropping to a whisper. The landlord has conditions. No elderly, no children, no women, only young, healthy men. His eyes glinted. And the landlord must meet you first to approve you. Every word dripped with wrongness, but Chen Li's wallet was empty and his options had run dry. He scheduled the meeting. The landlord was ancient 70, maybe older. White hair hung limp over his scalp. His legs trembled with each step like a marionette with cut strings. 4 flights of stairs. No elevator. The old man climbed 1 step, rested for 3. Chen Li genuinely worried he'd drop dead right there on the landing. Inside, the furniture was all vintage knock on it and it echoed hollow like hitting a coffin. But the bed was enormous, wide enough for 3 people to lie side by side. The old man explained in a thin voice, I used to manage lumber supplies, had access to quality wood, made the bed bigger than necessary. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Chen Li moved in that same day. The first few nights were almost normal. Almost. He'd fall asleep in the center of that massive bed. Every morning, he'd wake up on the edge inches from falling, like something had pushed him there while he slept. Chen Li blamed his restless sleeping. People move around at night, he told himself. It didn't mean anything. It couldn't mean anything. Then he brought his girlfriend home one weekend. That is when everything changed. She complained every morning. You keep pushing me in your sleep. Last night you almost shoved me right off the bed. It scared the hell out of me. Chen Li laughed it off. Next time I do it, turn on the light and slap me awake. Teach me a lesson. She agreed. Don't worry, I'll make sure you remember it. That night, she felt him pushing again, hard, insistent. She slapped the light switch, ready to give him hell. What she saw turned her blood to ice. Chen Li lay perfectly straight, arms pressed tight against his sides, legs together, like a corpse arranged for burial, like he was standing at military attention while lying down. That position, it was physically impossible to push someone from that position. His arms weren't even extended, so who or what had been pushing her? She shook him awake, words tumbling out in panic. Chen Li dismissed it. You were dreaming. There is no such thing as ghosts. His girlfriend left that night, grabbed her things and walked out, leaving Chen Li alone in that oversized bed. Chen Li rolled over and went back to sleep, but in his dreams, he felt it's someone lying beside him, taking up space, fighting for territory, pushing. Always pushing. Despite everything, Chen Li stayed. He was a materialist, rational, and more importantly, the rent was impossibly cheap. Where else would he find a deal like this? 5 or 6 years passed this way. Chen Li even bought an apartment near Chaoyang, Joy City. The mortgage ate every penny he had, but it was his. Freedom was coming, but over those years, something happened to Chen Li's body. He began to diminish. He'd been built like a bull, solid, strong. Now he was a twig pale, constantly sick, coughing fits that wouldn't stop. His spine curved. He walked hunched like a man 3 times his age. Co-workers whispered, "What happened to Chen Li? He is only 25 but looks 50. Chen Li wondered the same thing. What was happening to him? The new apartment was almost ready. Just hold on a little longer, just a few more days. The morning before he was set to move out, his watch slipped into the crack beside the bed. He couldn't reach it no matter how he tried. Chen Li decided to lift the mattress and retrieve it from underneath. Simple enough. He gripped the edge and flipped it over. What he found beneath made him forget how to breathe. Laid out perfectly flat, a complete set of clothes. From head to toe, every single piece. Traditional collar shirt, Mao jacket. Wool sweater, undershirt, pants, long underwear, socks. Nothing missing, everything arranged just so. But it wasn't just laid out, it was spread open. Arms extended, legs apart. Like a person lying spread eagle, waiting for someone to climb inside and wear them. Chen Li's heart stopped. His body broke out in cold sweat. 6 years, every single night, someone had been sleeping beside him. Someone made of cloth and hunger. During the day, it shed its skin, folded itself flat beneath where he slept. At night, it would dress itself in the dark and press against him, feeding on his life force. His hands shaking, Chen Li grabbed the clothes, called the landlord. "I'm moving out. Come get your things now." The landlord arrived quickly. Too quickly. Chen Li hadn't seen him in 6 years, only dropped off rent like clockwork. When Chen Li opened the door, he couldn't process what he was seeing. The old man, the one who could barely climb stairs, now bounded up all 4 flights without pausing. No trembling, no gasping for air. His face was fuller. His back was straight. His voice boomed with health. He looked like he'd shed 30 years. Chen Li stared in horror. As the landlord bent to pick up the clothes, his cap shifted backward, revealing his hair. The old man's hair was still white, but at the roots, new growth pushed through. Jet black, thick, vital. He was growing young again. Reverse aging in real time. Understanding crashed over Chen Li like ice water. For 6 years, he'd been living this man's life for him. The landlord had been draining him dry, siphoning his youth, his vitality, his very essence. While Chen Li withered into a husk, the old man bloomed. Those clothes under the bed were the tool, a spirit vessel, wiring funds to the bank of hell every single night. Chen Li looked at the landlord. The landlord looked back. Neither spoke. What was there to say? Chen Li left that day, moved into his new apartment, but the damage was done. At 28, he looked 60. His body had been hollowed out, scooped clean. He'd paid for that cheap rent with decades of his life. Now, the second story. This one's about a boy named Lin Xiaojun, 12 years old. Eyes too clean for this world. Lin lived with his parents in the city, but his grandma's house was out in the suburbs old Beijing, where new construction hadn't swallowed everything yet. One summer, Lin's parents were busy, too busy for childcare, so they sent Lin and his little brother to stay with grandma for a few weeks. Grandma's neighborhood was the old kind, narrow alleys, brick walls, courtyard homes. The kind of place where everyone knew everyone, and secrets festered in the cracks. 3 houses down from Grandma's place sat 3 low buildings, old squat, built in that particular 1960s style. Gray concrete, small windows. They'd been empty for years. Red and white tape crisscrossed the entrance. Official seals. Police warnings. Do not enter. The neighborhood kids all whispered about those buildings. Someone had died in there, they said. Something bad had happened. The details changed depending on who was telling the story, but the core stayed the same. Those buildings were wrong. Lin's brother was fearless or stupid. Same thing at that age. He nudged Lin. Want to look inside. Lin hesitated. Something in his gut said no, but his brother was already approaching the windows. The windows were just above eye level for a 12-year-old. You had to stand on your toes and crane your neck. The brothers pressed their faces to the glass, hands cupped around their eyes to block the glare. Inside was normal, disappointingly normal. Old furniture covered in dust sheets, cobwebs thick as curtains. Nothing supernatural, nothing scary. But as they were about to pull away, Lynn saw something move in the reflection behind him, standing directly behind his back. A woman, long black hair falling past her waist, white dress stained with something dark. Her face was pale, not pale like a living person, but pale like something drowned and left to bloat. She wasn't looking at her own reflection. She was looking directly at Lynn through the window, through the glass, through the gap between worlds. Her eyes were holes. Her mouth hung open like a broken hinge. Lynn stumbled backward, pulling his brother with him. They didn't stop running until they reached Grandma's courtyard. His brother thought it was funny. You got so scared. There was nothing there. But Lynn knew better. He'd seen her, and worse, she'd seen him. That night, Lynn couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching him, even with the lights on, even with his family around. The sensation followed him everywhere, in class, at the dinner table, in the bathroom, constant, unblinking. Like someone standing just outside his peripheral vision. His posture changed. He walked hunched, shoulders pulled forward, like he was trying to protect his back from something. His parents noticed. "What is wrong with you? Stand up straight." But Lynn couldn't explain. How do you explain that you can feel dead eyes boring into the back of your skull? His grandmother noticed too. One afternoon she stopped him. "Something's following you, isn't it?" Lynn burst into tears, nodded. The relief of being believed nearly broke him. Grandma didn't ask for details. She just said, "We're going to fix this." She made a phone call, speaking in low tones Lynn couldn't quite hear. The next day, Grandma took Lynn across town to a cramped apartment building. They climbed to the 5th floor and knocked on a door covered in yellow talismans. An old woman answered, tiny, bent with age, but her eyes were sharp as broken glass. She looked at Lynn for exactly 3 seconds, then nodded. "Come in." The apartment smelled like incense and something else, something medicinal and old. Herbs hung from the ceiling. Strange diagrams covered the walls. "Take off your shirt and turn around," the old woman instructed. Lynn obeyed, hands shaking. She pressed her hand between his shoulder blades. Her palm was ice cold. Yes, it is there, clinging tight. Without warning, she began pounding on his back with her fists. Not hard enough to hurt, but firm, rhythmic, like she was beating dust from a carpet. Thump, 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 over and over, moving from his shoulders down to his lower back, then back up again. Lynn felt something like weight lifting off his shoulders. Literally, as if someone had been pressing down on him and finally let go. After 10 minutes, the old woman stopped. She handed Grandma a small cloth pouch, blood red, filled with something that clinked. "Cinnabar, make sure he wears it next to his skin. Don't let it get wet. Don't take it off." 1 year, Grandma nodded. Tied the pouch around Lynn's neck with red string. "What was it?" Lynn whispered, but the old woman just shook her head. "Ask me no questions, and I'll tell you no lies. You're young. Be grateful. You're still breathing." On the way home, Lynn tried to get answers from Grandma. What happened to me? What did she do? Grandma wouldn't say, just kept repeating, "Keep that pouch on. Don't get it wet. Don't lose it. Promise me." And just like that, the feeling vanished. No more eyes on his back. No more presence. The woman in white was gone. Lynn wore the cinnabar pouch every day, to school, to bed. Even in the shower, he'd hang it just outside the curtain. He didn't dare let water touch it. A year passed. Lynn grew taller, got braver, started middle school. The terror faded into a weird dream, something that maybe didn't really happen. Then came gym class. Basketball sweat. He came back to the dorm and jumped in the shower without thinking. The pouch got soaked. Lynn's blood turned to ice. He ran straight to Grandma's house, pouch still dripping in his hand. Grandma looked at the ruined charm and sighed. It has been a year. You should be safe now. Safe from what? Lynn demanded. What was following me? And finally, Grandma told him the truth. The woman in white wasn't in the window. She was never in the building. When Lynn and his brother looked through that glass, she was already on Lynn's back, clinging, pressed flat against his spine, looking over his shoulder at the world through his eyes, like a ventriloquist's dummy worn backward. That is why Lynn felt watched. She wasn't watching him, she was watching with him, riding him like a vehicle, seeing everything he saw. And the old woman's back pounding. That wasn't massage. That was exorcism, literally beating the ghost off his body. Cinnabar pouch kept her from climbing back on. For 1 year, the spirit would circle and search, trying to find him again. But after a year, she'd forget. Move on. Release her claim. Lynn's skin crawled. How long was she on me? From the moment you looked in that window, several weeks at least. Lucky your grandmother knows people. Lynn thought about all those weeks. Sleeping, eating, living with something dead pressed against his back. Seeing through his eyes. Feeling his warmth. What did she want? He whispered. Grandma shrugged. Companionship, maybe. The dead get lonely. Or maybe she was feeding on you, draining your life, bit by bit like Chenli's landlord with his spirit clothes. Either way, having a corpse ride your back isn't healthy. Another few months and your yang energy would have been spent. You would have become something else. Lynn shuddered. He remembered Chenli's story. The strong young man turned paper thin. He'd only carried the ghost for weeks. Chenli had slept beside those clothes for years. The buildings are still there, Grandma said quietly. Still sealed, still waiting. Some spirits don't leave when you ask nicely. Lane never went back to that neighborhood. Even as an adult 25 now, working in the city, he avoids that whole district. Sometimes he hears rumors. The 3 buildings are still there, crumbling slowly. Sometimes people walk past and hear sounds from inside, crying, or laughing, or both at once. Nobody goes near them. Parents warn their children. The sealed doors stay sealed. And somewhere in there, maybe the woman in white still waits. Maybe she has found someone else by now. Or maybe she is still searching for the boy who got away, the one whose back she rode for those precious few weeks. Lynn doesn't want to know. Some questions are better left unanswered. Some places are better left alone. The incense burns low. 2 stories, 2 prices paid. One paid in youth, one paid in innocence. Both could have cost everything. Subscribe so you don't miss the warning when the spirits rise again. Sleep carefully.